All right, it is time for a book review from my sci-fi, fantasy, and weird exploration. Woohoo! And it is Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur C. Clarke. So exciting! Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and as promised, I am here back doing book reviews. It has been a long time since I've done book reviews, and it's been a long time since I read this book, so please be patient with me getting back into my rhythm of doing things of this nature. Now, my sci-fi, fantasy, and weird exploration I started a couple years back when I was really just wanting to explore science fiction and fantasy and weird fiction. Those are genres that I think that I am interested in, I think that I read, but I wasn't. So I actively sought out different lists and put them all together. I will leave a link below to the actual list. I actually now can't even remember where all of the lists came from, and I think I did add some myself, but they're all sort of like iconic or revolutionary or groundbreaking or recent or very talked about books of science fiction and fantasy and weird fiction. Now, Rendezvous with Rama is by Arthur C. Clarke. Arthur C. Clarke is one of the big three of science fiction in terms of science fiction authors, along with him, Isaac Asimov, and Robert A. Heinlein. I have read all of them now, actually, although I haven't read anything by Asimov for this particular exploration. I have read stuff from him previously in my life, some point in my life. But today we are talking about Arthur C. Clarke. And so this is a book that is the first book in the Rama series. It is a science fiction book, and it was published in 1973. And it is the first of a 4-book series called Rama. And I read it last year in June and July. And I read it for Read-O-Rama, which was the first readathon that I ever participated in. And I, of course, because you have to read something with Rama in the title, I went very literal and picked Rendezvous with Rama. You just need the letters R-A-M-A. It doesn't have to be Rama. But I thought, why not? I want to read this book anyway. It was a good opportunity to do so. So that's why I chose it. Now, what this book is actually about is that there is discovered, it's set in the future, from the 70s, in the future, a time where space travel is more commonplace, definitely more commonplace than now, but is commonplace-ish, and people live on other planets, and society has developed a fair amount, and there's new religions and all kinds of things. So it's futuristic science fiction, but not like far, far, far future. It's supposed to be, I felt, it feels sort of realistic, near-future science fiction. And what happens is that that there's something in space, huge something moving in space, and they don't know, being us, being humans, don't know what it is, what's inside it, how it was made, where is it going. They don't know any of these things. So there are scientists and explorers, and I can't remember the whole team makeup, but all sciencey type astronaut-y people go to explore and investigate what is this thing going on. So because it's quite of a mysterious thing and you don't know anything starting, I don't want to get into the specifics of the plot beyond that because that would be very spoilery. But I will say that I found it very engaging. I like Arthur C. Clarke. I've also read what's it called? Oh my goodness. I can't remember. No, I can't remember. It was made into a miniseries a couple years back with Charles Dance. Anyway, just having a Charles Dance moment. Anyway, but this one, one of the things that I didn't have any expectations of it. I had read one other book by Arthur C. Clarke. I knew it was science fiction. I like science fiction-y, like hardcore or hard, I don't know what the lines are, like it's in space, so it's science fiction. And I didn't really know what to expect. So I didn't have any expectations coming in terms of the plot or those kinds of things. But what I really loved is how sort of everything had that air of mystery to it. Like you really did feel at any point something completely unexpected could happen because it was so different than things as they were. So, and then it gets even to the point of interpreting anything from our perspective is like only one perspective, right? Because who knows how this was created, who created it, did a who create it, and why would it be created? So there's all of these questions, and then there's also lots of explory type stuff because that's who the people are going to investigate, and that's like the stuff that I can't talk about. So but I found it very engaging. I found it very mysterious. I found it very sort of like that edge of what could happen, anything could happen, which is very exciting. And I found the what does happen kind of, what can I say? I like it yeah, it was like wondrous but believable, but you just have no idea what it can be. And I did find that very engaging and adventurous. And I do like adventure, which is a genre or a style that I've come to realize that I like things that are adventure-y, and it really, really was. So a lot of it really worked for me. I unfortunately didn't finish it during the readathon, so it's not, for me, it's not a 1 week read. I read it on my Kindle, and I wanted to take my time with it, so I switched out and read something else with Rama in the title. um, and so I gave myself the time that I wanted to dedicate to read this. Not like that it took me a month and a half or anything like that. I just didn't want a time pressure on it. And so, yeah, so I really enjoyed the atmosphere. I mostly enjoyed the characters. There were some things that didn't work for me in terms of the characters, like many sort of 60s, 70s science fiction-y type stuff or futuristic stuff. There is like people who have multiple marriages, and I can't remember specifically, but I think it's always, in this case, it was always men who are married to multiple women, but there might have been a woman that was married to multiple men too. And I don't know why that comes up in science fiction, or like marriage contracts that you can renew or not after a year or something, but it just sort of like a thing that happened in science fiction seemed to be especially at this time. So there was things about that bothered me, and there was some gender crap in terms of talking about the physicality of women and what that's like in space, and it just felt completely out of place in terms of the rest of the book, especially since the other work by Arthur C. Clarke, I did not feel that in any way, that there was any gender crap. And so I was not expecting that. So it was only like one notation, and there was a really strong female character, but it would have been, for me, it would have been so nice not to have that in there. So, because it just felt out of place and just ridiculous. Like, it was just ridiculous. So anyway, but that aside, I really enjoyed the spirit of the story and the explory type stuff. The only other thing that didn't work for me is sometimes I couldn't visualize what was being described, which is unusual for me. Usually I have no problem with that. I can see a space or anything that's being described, whether it's something in a fantasy novel or something in like a noir novel or whatever. Like I don't usually have a problem with that, but this one I had trouble with that, other than getting the vastness of the structure, which was very clear. Sometimes when he was describing things, I had a hard time placing it. Not always. There were definitely some things I really can see in my mind, but not all the time. And so that was a bit of a no. But I did enjoy that there was a really strong female character in this story, and she was actually like a ship captain, like a ship ocean captain was one of the things in her background. And there was, when I went back and looked at my notes, there were a lot more social dynamics than like commentary between the people that were sort of like not colleagues but consultants on the exploration from different divisions and different planets and different, societal interests in terms of what it could or couldn't mean and all that stuff, which I totally had forgotten about. So I'm glad that I had that in my notes, because it did have some deep thoughts moments, which was cool too. One of the questions I always ask about the sci-fi fantasy and weird series is it the genre that it says it is, which is science fiction? And absolutely, like, you can't get more science fiction in this. Like, it's set in space following astronaut-y people doing, like, exploring the science fiction type questions, and also has some social commentary, which is also prevalent in a lot of science fiction work. So Yes, absolutely. I definitely want to continue the series. I'm actually really surprised that I haven't continued the series yet. I had also read 2001 around like I think last summer or something. So I was trying to decide between which of the two series that I wanted to move forward with, because they're both four book series, and it's also in the challenges of the sci-fi fantasy and weird exploration is a lot of the titles are first in series. So you're not just committing to reading one book, you're potentially committing to reading several books if you want to continue the series. And if you like the series, that's a great thing, but it just means more books. Which is a good thing, but like, wow, the list gets long. So I think I will pick this one over 2001 just because there is just something so like I really don't have any idea what could happen, and I think that that's really fun. In 2001, I know the story of 2010 because of the film. So yeah, so I definitely will read more from this author. I definitely will recommend it, especially if you like science fiction and you haven't read this one. It's an easy place to start with Arthur C. Clarke. Although the other one, which I can't remember the title, I'll link it below. The other one is a standalone, so that might also be a good place to start. So I enjoyed this as 2001 and the other titles so far. Everything I've enjoyed, everything by Arthur C. Clarke that I've read, I've enjoyed. So there you go. That is my first return to reviews. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you have read Rendezvous with Rama, what you thought, yeah, and whether you liked it more or not than 2001 or any of those things. My next review will probably be the Grimm's Fairy Tales story. The title I have on the Sci-Fi Fantasy and Weird list is Children and Household Tales, although the book that I have is named something different, but I think it's close enough. Like it's a bunch of Grimm fairy tales, so I think that's close enough. So that is going to be the next on my list. I think I'm going to work through the sci-fi fantasy and weird, and then go to something else, or I don't know. I'm not entirely sure, but the Grimm's fairy tales will be the next one. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you will enjoy that, and I hope getting back to reviews is going to be a good thing. It feels like it. So, all right, thank you so much for watching.